We're off, we're running, we're brand new. What is today? Wednesday edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Welcome in. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow morning, we're getting ready for it. I'm already hungry.
Before the storm.
I am hungry.
Well,
already.
I think he's starting today cooking, actually.
Well, you would have to if we're eating, at 7 a.m. And we are literally reversing everything normal about a barbecue.
Well, we did it with turkey, too.
Right. We're reversing the whole normal thing.
I do remember it was cold as hell that day, though.
It will not be that way tomorrow morning.
No, it won't.
We could set it up, and we could set up in the driveway and just really what we need to do is we need to get some of those big lounge chairs, those summertime lounge chairs.
Here we go.
And just sit out there in the driveway and just do the show with a little bit of a beverage in hand at 7 a.m. When I say beverage, water, but just sit there and just take it easy tomorrow morning.
Or
that's what we're going to do.
Water, but I'm not a drinker.
I know.
I'm just naturally crazy. I've been told that many times. B. Rich can tell you some stories.
Naturally, as long as it does not involve streaking in the neighborhood barbecue parties, we're good.
We're good.
Okay.
No, that's not going to happen.
Anyway, tomorrow morning we do have the inaugural Talking Ball barbecue to celebrate the 4th.
Yes, we do.
And we'll be doing it from B. Rich's garage, driveway, or whatever. I mean,
it certainly worked last time.
It did, but you know what? Tomorrow morning, though, if it's nice, we could just be on the driveway, though. We can just set it up.
I haven't looked at the forecast.
It's supposed to be like it is right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can just set up and we're just going to have a good time. Listen, if you want to come, you can come tomorrow morning. You just got to give John a call and he'll tell you where the address is, and we'll get you guys all there. Literally, we're having a 7 a.m. barbecue tomorrow morning to celebrate the 4th, because we will not be back with you guys until Tuesday.
Yeah,
because we're going to be off on Monday. So last show of the week tomorrow, and we'll be back with you guys on Tuesday. Talent Heating and Air, cranking it all up, 256-503-4490. Let their talent do some work for you. You can find them online, talenthvac.com. It's going to be, temperature's going to rise up again. We're not into summer yet, so still if you want to get that tune-up done, if you want to get it repaired, you want to get your AC serviced, now would be a good time to call, because you would not be out in the heat completely. Talent Heating and Air can take care of you. We are still counting down the days to college football. 52 days, 4 hours, 56 minutes, and 2 seconds away from the start of the new college football season. Yes. Well, now you're down to 4 hours, 55 minutes, and 52 seconds.
Yeah.
52 days, by the way. The start of the college football season. It is quickly approaching. And don't forget, SEC Media Days just around the corner as well. Monday, July 14th, we will be from the College Football Hall of Fame. So in just 12 days, we will be from the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, getting ready to get started. And in case you've forgotten, and in case you want to know, on that Monday, July 14th, we will have LSU, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt to kick things off. Now, normally you're going to sit there and you're going to look at it and you're going to say, okay, LSU, Ole Miss, that'll be a good 1-2 combination. But South Carolina is there on day one. And if you look at the media, if you look at a lot of these off-season publications, they are writing, I should say, that yes, Arch Manning is really good, but the best quarterback right now may be Lenoris Sellers out of South Carolina in the SEC.
Well, we'll see. Again, he was an unknown quantity last year, and then performed above expectations. Nearly won in Tuscaloosa, but then made some mistakes, but continued to get better after that, bounced back really well. Nearly made the playoff. I think they were a good enough team to be in the playoff. So, but here's the thing that's going to be different. They lost a lot of talent on defense.
Right.
And they're not going to sneak up on anybody. There's nobody that's not going to be prepared now for Lenora Sellers. So
right. He was the SEC Freshman of the Year, by the way, for those that
tremendous talent.
Forgot.
And his offensive coordinator left, and now he's got Mike Shula, and make of that what you will. We'll see how that goes. Now, Mike has been a really good position coach during his career.
Right.
An offensive coordinator, I'd give him a C at best.
It's just amazing that he's still around the game like that.
Well, I mean, he's one of my all-time favorite Alabama football players, but as a coach, I thought he was an average head coach. And you look at his work as an offensive coordinator. Now, the most success he had, we talked about that a few weeks ago, was with Cam Newton at Carolina, and they did get to a Super Bowl. So credit there. They did not win it, and that's where you should be encouraged as a South Carolina fan, because Cam Newton and Lenora Sellers have a lot of similarities and traits. So perhaps Mike Shula can help this young man become a first-round draft choice. And who knows, maybe it would lead to Mike getting another chance to be a head coach. The only time he's ever been one was the time in Tuscaloosa from 03 to 06. And
do you think at this point in his career he has ambitions to be back as a head coach?
He certainly would look into an opportunity. I don't think it's at the top of his list.
Do you think anybody would take him?
I mean, if South Carolina gets to the college football playoff, people react in certain ways.
But is his window? I guess I should phrase it though. Has his window closed?
Shane Beamer would certainly be a
coach?
Wanted man by other schools, and I think his last name's Shula. So yeah, I think he might even get some pro opportunities as an offensive coordinator. Okay, I don't know his head coach, but again, I don't really know what his motivation is there.
He's 60 years old. Mike Shula?
He is. He's 10 years older than myself. Giving away my own age, but I already did on my birthday. My birthday was on April the 11th, but still, I mean, he's 60 years old. Is that door completely closed? I mean, certainly it's been closing. I'm sure it's I would say it's still cracked open if he can, especially if he. I don't know. See, here's the funny thing about it. Most of his career, you look at it, 90% of it's been in the pros. It hasn't been in college football.
This is only his you have to go back to his time at Alabama. That was his first tenure as anything on the college level.
And then he resurfaced at South Carolina as an analyst and now as an offensive coordinator.
This is his second time. So he started his coaching career in 1988.
Really after his brief pro career with Tampa Bay and Ray Perkins.
So 1988 is when he first got into coaching on the professional level. That was, as you said, Tampa Bay. So he has been on the coaching rank since 1988. That's why if he does what everybody thinks he can do with Lenora Sellers, elevate it, because South Carolina is the media darling right now as far as getting into the playoffs. Texas, Georgia, Alabama, those LSU, they're the ones that every year we write them in because of the talent level, the coaching, and everything else like that. South Carolina is that team right now that everybody wants to pencil in. Lenora Sellers has the 6th best Heisman odds right now, according to Las Vegas. Everybody wants to put South Carolina in there because they just missed last year. A few breaks, they get in. And that's why we start there, and that's why I bring up this Mike Shula thing, because he is 60. If everything does go right, you mentioned that he would become maybe people would look at him again as a head coach. I don't know if anybody would want him if they would take a chance on him again.
Well, I mean, again, it's all about timing with things of that nature. And if South Carolina were winning big and got to the playoff, it would certainly make him attractive. Maybe to a group of 5 job. And then, of course, back in the NFL. And I don't know where he truly wants to be. Obviously, he and Shane Beamer had a good relationship. He thought enough of that to leave the NFL, come to South Carolina, and work his way up to OC and quarterbacks coach. And he certainly has the resume to do that. Even though he has limited head coaching experience, he has extensive experience as a position coach in the NFL and experience twice as an OC. And honestly, both the times he was an OC, they had a lot of success. They nearly made the Super Bowl at Tampa, but they just couldn't quite get over the hump. And they did when they brought John Gruden in. But that's some good stuff. I mean, we'll see.
Shane Beamer, by the way, 29-22 so far at South Carolina. He's had a 7-win season, an 8-win season, and then in 23 they dipped to 5.
So there was a little heat there, but then they bounced back really well. Yeah.
So, I mean, if Shane Beamer is able to break through with a 10-win season this year.
A lot of equity. I mean, I'm telling you, the one thing I'll say about South Carolina, they got a hellacious fan base that's very supportive. And they also they're not going to raise a bunch of hell if they don't win 10 games a year. They want to be good. They want to be competitive. And if Shane Beamer can make that step and get them to the playoff, they're going to be ecstatic. I mean, certainly they'll want to win a national championship, but if they don't, they're not going to Ryan Day you.
Oh, well, the good solace is they have been to the SEC championship game. They've been there. They didn't go very well when they were there, but they got there. There's a lot of other schools in the SEC.
You're talking about when Coach Spurrier played against that great Auburn team. And they were smashed, but they got there. They got there, and Coach Spurrier won 11 games 3 years in a row and did a heck of a job there. That's why he has a statue over there, because it was the 3 greatest seasons in history. Now, I will say we're going to have a guest in the to kick off hour 2, Matt Baker of The Athletic, and he wrote a very interesting article about what schools could Nick Saban have won a national championship where he didn't coach. I do think and I love Coach Spurrier and the impact he had on the SEC and college football, but Nick Saban is a better coach than Steve Spurrier. And I think he could have won a national championship at South Carolina. He probably could have got, he would have had that one. I think maybe because Coach Spurrier, when he had it rolling, he did with the Jadeveon Clowneys and the Marcus Lattimores and people like that, recruited very well. But I think Nick Saban would have taken it to another level in recruiting, and I think he could have got good enough players to win it all there. But and again, you have to have the right coach in place, and Coach Spurrier did a great job there. But you look at Coach Spurrier's resume, he won the national championship in '96 at Florida, but that's the only one he won. But he won at a lot of places that are difficult to win, the Dukes. South Carolina hasn't had a tremendous history. It's had a good history, but better than Duke, of course. And again, but Coach Spurrier on the other hand didn't translate to the NFL. It just didn't work. He tried it, but again, Coach Spurrier won at South Carolina. He won at Duke. You got to give him credit for that. But I just think Nick Saban, that what sets Coach Saban apart from others is just his ability to recruit. He probably could have made a run at Michigan State if he had stayed.
Yes.
But like I told you, you kind of read the landscape. He's in the state of Michigan. He's, second fiddle to the University of Michigan most times. You're having to jump over Michigan, Ohio State. They were even playing Notre Dame back in those days. So it was a lot of teams to jump over. You go to LSU. Certainly they had been down for a while, but it is the state school in Louisiana. You are numero uno.
Well, and the recruiting bed is a little bit easier in Louisiana. I mean, it's hard to get guys to go to East Lansing.
At when they had struggled for most of the last decade. A lot of that was under Curly Hallman, who's been on this show. But if you could go back and look at recruiting rankings, Curly Hallman was recruiting well. Something just didn't translate there. Right. But, if you have the right coach, you can recruit like crazy at LSU. Yep. And we've seen it since Coach Saban has left. You had Les Miles become the winningest coach in LSU history. He won a national championship in 2007. And then you had a dunder brain, like Ed Ogeron, put together one of the greatest teams in college football history. I mean, as far as the most unlikely coaches to win a national championship, I definitely put him above Chisel. And I'm talking about Gene Chizik.
Right.
I mean,
right.
both of those were stunning, but Ed Ogeron's was even more so because of the
domination.
Well, no, what we saw him do at Ole Miss.
Oh, yes.
Or not do.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Well, he sold Hummers at Ole Miss.
I was going to say, you know.
Not those kind of Hummers.
Okay, JoJo. I mean,
still one of the greatest commercials ever made.
Yeah, John, if you want to get a laugh, just Google Hummer and Ed Ogeron.
Did you see Ed Ogeron was at a wedding, I think, over the weekend and took his shirt off and started dancing?
No, but I'm glad I didn't.
Well, that's a good way for us to go to break.
And then another classic YouTuber that you can look up, Scott, is the song "Colonel Reb is Crying." That's a good one from back in the day.
I need to find it during the break. I gotta show it to you. Yes, he was at a wedding recently. Yes, here we go. It was over the weekend, and our friend even Josh Pate found it as well. I need to find the video. This is just a still picture. And yeah, here we go. I can't play the scene. See, look, there it is. There it is. Ed Ogeron's at the wedding with his shirt off dancing.
Well, I mean, this reminds me of what I read in his first team meeting at Ole Miss. I mean, basically, I think he took his shirt off then too. I'm going to be on with later this afternoon with Brett Norsworthy. I could ask Brett about that. Is it still true that Ed Ogeron took his shirt off in his first team meeting with Ole Miss?
Oh, anyway, we got to get a break in.
But Colonel Reb is crying. I think it was done in Brett's hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. It was a classic.
We'll have to see if we can find that one. Anyway, when we come back, you mentioned the Matt Baker article. We'll delve into that a little bit because it was interesting. All the numbers and everything that they compiled.
Work he did. I mean, it's
a lot of work.
Long form article, man, on The Athletic.
Yes. We'll explain what we're talking about because he's going to join us at the top of the hour. And then cross your fingers, folks. Denver Jones at 8:30.
Denver Jones
at 8:30. Hopefully he'll be here
in studio.
Our
That's the plan. The original plan.
Our in-studio guest entourage.
Yeah.
It continues. We're keeping the center mic here all week because we want guests in here all week. Well, we're bringing in another one. Hopefully Denver Jones at 8:30. So the tour continues. We'll get our first break in next. And during the break, this is why I love commercials. Because we go through and find things. We go through the archives. I mean, we had to dig deep
I'm
through this
never
one.
going to forget Colonel Reb is crying back from 04 and 05 about 20 years ago.
Well, hopefully now nobody else will ever forget it because, folks, here it is. Colonel Reb is crying. And, John, if you've never heard this, I just heard it during the break. And all I needed to do was listen to 5 seconds of it and determine that it's a keeper.
Coach O rips his shirt off, and this is what he says. Football. Colonel Reb is crying. Yes, and things will change. Coach O rips his shirt off again and then says something strange.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Brent Schaefer. Wild boy.
That's when he ripped his shirt off in the first team meeting, supposedly. He said they were going to be the Ole Miss Wild Boys.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, if you can imagine that in a team meeting, if you're with your head coach ripping his shirt off, of course, you just showed me, before we went
the
to
wedding
break,
of him.
The wedding with
yes,
him ripping his
yes.
shirt off. I mean, okay. Wow. That's all I can say.
Oh, my
Some
goodness.
things never change with Coach O.
That was good. Let's go out to the phone lines. Richard is with us. Good morning, Richard.
Richard, do you remember Colonel Reb is crying?
Morning, morning, Richard.
Hey, morning, guys.
Morning.
I didn't read the article you were talking about, but I tell you what, on Coach O, on the song there, I think you need to play that before you guys come on. Every segment instead of music. That'll be your new song. One thing on Saban and where could he win, and one thing is anywhere that would put up with him.
No, that's true.
I mean, because we paid him more than anybody else. We hired, and everybody's done it now, but Mal Moore increased. Drew, you were going down there, but what the staff increased probably double.
Oh yeah, I mean, we never even heard of an analyst until he hired Jeremy Pruitt. That was one of the first hires he made, and no one even talked about off the field guys that weren't on the field coaches. He kind of started all that, or he did.
Yeah, and there were things, when he took over. Remember his introductory press conference was, look, there were things that had to happen.
Yeah,
you had to buy in, and at the time. And it just kind of goes to show you, I think, where Alabama was pre-Nick Saban versus where they're at. That everybody had to be on the same page. You couldn't have a group of people wanting one thing and another group wanting another. Mm-hmm. Everybody from top to bottom had to be on the same page.
Correct. And like I said, and he was in charge, really not Mal, but he was in charge. And that's what I'm saying. Within reason, I mean, Mississippi State, if they could have hired him, if they would have gone into that, I guess you would say depth or that detail of what Nick wanted to win. I mean, really, anybody in the SEC probably, but Vandy, even Kentucky, if you were willing to do that, which that would have meant football was more important than basketball, say at Kentucky. But, but to me, anybody that would have done what we did, within reason, could have won, which, maybe 30, 40 schools, really, if you would have done what he wanted you to do, which most, schools wouldn't have done it.
No, that you have to be football centric. And, and Alabama was also desperate at the time. And I'm free to say that. I mean, Alabama had slipped badly and was very mediocre and had lost, 6 in a row to Auburn and whatnot. And it was in a bad place. They lost 5 and then they ended up losing the 6 with Coach Saban, and then Coach Saban by year 2 turned that around. But yeah, I mean, Alabama was. I would say probably at the lowest ebb, because I had never seen them get dominated by Auburn the way they did. I mean, everybody will never forget being in your own stadium in Tuscaloosa and Auburn taunting Alabama on the 1 yard line, like, come on, go for it. We know you can't make it. You're too weak. Now they certainly showed them who was weak in 2008. It was a glorious afternoon to watch them quit. But again, it took a while though, because Tommy Tuberville, give him credit. He took full advantage of that of Alabama's instability and was dominating the series at that time.
Governor Tuber? You mean Governor Tuberville?
He might be. Looks like he's running for it. There you go.
Senator Pearl, and Governor Tuberville.
There you go.
No, but like I said, is anybody and put up. But I mean, Alabama won 6 national championships with him.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't. I mean, probably the bottom line increased, but you put out a lot of money to begin with. For support staff, food, buildings.
Yeah.
I mean, but like I said, Nick, I think he could have won. I'm not going to say Harvard or Vanderbilt, but he could have won almost anywhere if you're willing to support him.
Well, and that's the thing. And Richard, in this article that we're talking about that Matt Baker did, he says one of the factors for Nick Saban winning and that you have to take into effect is the money factor.
Mm-hmm.
And he puts in here that in the 3 years before Nick Saban arrived at Alabama reported an average of $46.9 million in football revenue to the Department of Education. In the 3 years after his arrival, Alabama reported $64.6 million.
There you go.
So that was the jump in revenue from what Nick Saban brought in those 3 years. That's just the 3 years after he arrived.
Well, you got the fans more excited, and and kind of bought in, and you really couldn't find a ticket for a long, or tickets were hard anyway.
Yeah.
Where during the Shula era, they weren't hard to get. So
no, they weren't. I mean, think about it. The spectacle when his plane landed to take the job, the press conference, people still replay to this day for his introductory at PC at Alabama, and then. I was there. My father and I were there for the first A-Day game, which no one expected to be a sellout. They had to continue to open up, parts of the stadium until the entire place filled up because there were so many people there. And like you said, the energy and the excitement. And again, it's just one of those things where I don't know that it could ever be replicated, but what it's led to, I mean, he almost basically did double the size of the university as far as enrollment while he was there. And now it's allowed you to hire a Kalen DeBoer, get him away from Washington, where he had played in a national championship game. And it's also allowed you to grow the rest of the athletic department, because the one thing I'll say about Coach Saban, football was king, but he always wanted the entire university to grow.
Yeah, correct. We'll see you guys later, and have a happy 4th.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you too, Richard. Be safe.
And part of this article, Matt Baker lists 6 really big things that would do this. And the whole point is, you take everything that Nick Saban did at Alabama, could he do it at any school in the country, Power 5 school? And they whittled it down to 33 different schools that Nick Saban could potentially have won a national championship with if he got everything that he did at Alabama.
Well, he could win at any school, but winning a national championship is a different deal. You've got to have the money, the resources, and the support. And in some places you don't.
Right. And so that's what they took into a factor. And one of those factors was the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And Baker puts in there, elite talent doesn't always lead to championships, but the average NFL draft pick pre-Saban at Alabama from 03 to 07 was 4.2 draft picks per year.
Yeah, off the team.
The Saban era effect from 08 to 24 was 7.8 per year, which is a 3.6 increase per year. That's just the NFL draft side.
Yep.
So, I mean, to go through all that, I mean, there's more numbers in there as well.
And honestly, you have to take out year one because they had nobody drafted because that was a 7-6 football team that wasn't very good. But from 08 through 23, it was a landslide.
If the Saban effect alone provides 10.8 picks over 3 seasons, the team itself must produce 7.2. That's an average of 2.4 per year. It's amazing numbers here. All right, 7:32. Let's get a break in. When we get back, we'll go back out to the phone lines, 256-576-4977. See, right there, that's roll the windows down. I said roll the windows down because I didn't have power in my car, and I physically had to roll them down. That's physically roll the windows down, all four down.
All four, yeah.
And you drive, that's right. That's classic right there.
But you'd have to do that before you started driving, though.
No, you did. You had to get there. You had to have a purpose. Yeah. You had to have all those.
Roll down maybe one of them, but
right.
Oh,
how many times did I ever try to reach over to the passenger side to try to crank that window down
and start cussing?
Yeah. Because, I mean, he didn't have the power window. I mean, literally had to crank the windows down in the car. 256-576-4977. That's the number to the phone lines. Pat from Tuscaloosa with us. Good morning, Pat.
Morning, Pat.
Hey, good morning, guys. Guys, my question this morning, Cedarian Morgan commits by around lunch today. Is Cedarian Morgan's commitment to Alabama going to be as big as Brock Bowers was to Georgia? Because I think he's arguably the number one receiver in the whole country.
Well, I mean, it's going to be big for Alabama because I think they're going to get his commitment at noon today. And when you get the top prospect in the state, when you get a 5-star wide receiver, I wouldn't put it on the level of with Julio Jones, just simply because Julio meant so much because it was Nick Saban's first full cycle. But it's certainly going to be as significant, I think, he and Xavier Griffin as any commitment that Kalen DeBoer has had. Xavier, out-of-state commitment, even though he used to, he did grow up in Alabama. And then you could say X is probably the top commitment out-of-state under Kalen DeBoer so far, along with Dijon Lee in this current class that's already on campus. But as far as an in-state kid, yeah, CD's probably going to be the most significant win. They did a really good job since they arrived here last year of recruiting him for 2 straight years. And the offense was good last year, not great, but CD obviously believes in the vision of the staff and what they were able to do at Washington as well and Fresno State and other places. But again, I think right now it's going to be significant. It's going to continue to see the class climb into the top 10. And then, before it's all said and done by the end of July, there's a very good chance Alabama will be at 22 or 23 commitments and for the most part be done. It sounds like as far as the remaining targets, the biggest battle may be Tank Jones. I mean, everything was positive coming out of the weekend, but I think there's still some confidence on the Texas A&M side. Why he would want to go to that hellhole, I don't know, because they've never won anything since 1939. I mean, certainly they spend money. They certainly do that. They certainly have great facilities. They have a great following, but for whatever reason, they've never been able to figure it out. I will say Elko, I thought was a good hire. I thought he had a solid first year, but if I'm Tank Jones, I'm wanting to stay in state and play for the University of Alabama and this coaching staff, but NIL matters. And we'll see if Alabama can get back on top of that recruitment. He doesn't have a set date. We'll see when he commits, but it sounds like as far as battles go, this may end up being a Ty Haywood type battle. Alabama didn't win that battle. And if they got his commitment, it looked like they were going to sign him. We know what happened. This could be another one that's going to be maybe more drawn out than we first anticipated.
Yeah. Hey, getting Nolan Wilson over the weekend is going to be a big deal too. From what I can see of Nolan Wilson's film, that he looks like Tarzan. But what do you think?
No, I mean he's an outstanding prospect. He's, again, as I've said on the show, I think he's a guy that can be beefed up and be one of those quick twitch freakazoid defensive tackles, which are hard to find. He's one of the top prospects, if not the top prospect in the state of Mississippi. Lane Kiffin certainly is a good recruiter, but they focus a lot on the transfer portal. And if Alabama can pull this off with Nolan Wilson, got to give Freddie Roach a lot of credit for finding the kid early and getting him locked down. And so, but now I will say this, I think Freddie needs to figure it out with Tank Jones. You need to, you don't need to miss on many. That certainly there's been some frustration with some big time 5-star defensive tackles that they have not been able to get in on and end up signing. But with the guys that they have recruited hard and that they've been able to get on campus and that they're in the mix for, you need to close it with a Nolan Wilson and a Tank Jones. And I still think keep swinging with Elijah Golden. You need to finish this defensive line class strong because it's been a while since Alabama had a large and really good defensive line class, probably since the days of Bo Davis. And that's been close to a decade. And so, and if you go back and look at it, Alabama, they've in the last 10 years, they've won 2 national championships in close to a decade. They've won it in 17 and 20. It's been 5. but I'm just talking about if you go through a 10-year period nearly now, it's 2 national titles, but those are on the back end. And a lot of that to me is because we haven't seen the quality defensive lineman that Nick Saban kind of grew to define this program when he had it rolling. And I'll just say you have to say till 20 because that's when they won the last national championship and they still had Christian Barmore. But Alabama had the greatest run ever from 2008 to 2020 that we've ever seen.
Yeah. Hey, one quick question. Let you go. Is Jeremy Pruitt going to be able to win his seat where he can go back to coaching? I hope so.
No,
I would hope so, but the NCAA is a funny bunch.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count on it. I certainly think that with the way the landscape has changed, even over the last 3 years with NIL and the transfer portal, I don't understand why he still got this show cause. But of course, that's what happens when you associate yourself with a sack of trash like Phil Fulmer.
Right. Pat, thanks for the phone call.
Thank you guys. Have a blessed 4th.
All right, let's get to Harry real fast. Good morning, Harry. Morning, Harry.
What's up, Harry?
Hey, guys. Good morning. I'm here at Fort Morgan. It's a beautiful morning, and I'm walking, so don't worry about the traffic sounds you hear.
No
Fort
worries.
Morgan, are you on the beach?
Nice.
I am on the Fort Morgan Drive headed toward the historic site. I try to get in about 10,000 steps every day.
There you go.
And I'm doing it. So you got to fight the old man every day. The reason I was calling is you need to highlight the parallelism between Don James and Nick Saban.
Yeah.
When Don James arrived out in Washington from Kent State, he had a situation much like when Saban arrived at Alabama. Washington program was weak.
Right.
James came in. Saban had been on his staff as a graduate assistant for defensive backfield, but James had that same fire for defense, organization, collective integration with the rest of the athletic program. And when I got here to Alabama, the Army sent me here.
Yeah.
When I got here, about the time Saban arrived, you could see that same frustration in the Alabama faithful, and you knew that process that Saban was bringing to bear was a process I believe that the roots were planted when he was on the staff with Don James out in Washington.
No doubt. I mean, he actually started with Don James at Kent State. Don James is the one that talked him into coaching, and they were very close from that point forward. And I'll just say this, that team that Coach James had that won a co-national championship in 91 with Miami was a great football team. And it was built a lot like the Saban teams you saw.
Rock hard defense. But the other thing, he had a vision, James had a vision in his process where he brought the students into the play of the game, participation in the game, and put them as a priority to be at a game, rooting for the team. And when James got out to Washington State, the University of Washington, he was coping with Marcus Allen out at USC.
Yeah.
All those guys that were Class A programs, and he delivered them to the Rose Bowl in '82.
Yep.
And that was the kickoff of his efforts to get that program rebuilt. And when Alabama, when Saban came out of the pros to arrive at Alabama, you could see that fire in his eyes that, hey, I've got everything I need for my process. Give me just a little bit of time. I'll build a defense and build a championship program, and he did.
Certainly did.
Yeah. That's from an Auburn fan, by the way.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we were just talking.
Thanks for the phone
about
call,
that
Harry.
Yeah, thank you, Harry. Appreciate it.
Enjoy the beach and the fun.
Get those steps in.
Yeah, y'all have a great day. But Don James planted that fire in Saban's eyes.
No doubt.
Sure.
No doubt.
I'm counting up. Don James, by the way, and when Don James coached the Rose Sun, let's see here. It was the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, and the Sugar Bowl, the 4 big bowls. Those were the 4 big ones. And Don James got Washington to 6 Rose Bowls in his career.
Oh, he's a Hall of Famer. There's no question about it.
Six.
He won a co-national championship.
That 91 thing's stupid.
Steve Entman was completely dominant. It didn't translate to the pros for some reason, but still, I mean, that I enjoyed watching those Washington teams. I loved the uniforms and the helmets. My mother worked for Boeing, so she would go on business trips to their corporate headquarters in Seattle all the time.
Right.
And she brought me back Washington gear. I mean, Don James was a hell of a coach. And at that time, you know, I knew who Nick Saban was. I remember when he got the job at Michigan State and that he had worked for George Perlis and been DC, but I had no idea of his past. I didn't know that he was a safety for Don James at Kent State and what is, you know, and played for him. And I didn't learn that until you start studying Saban when he's at LSU, and then realizing that there's a chance and that when it all worked out that he was going to come to Tuscaloosa and revive the program that had it was just dormant. It just wasn't competing on a national level. Auburn controlled the state. Everybody knows that. There was no fluke. They won 6 in a row for a reason, because they had recruited better. They'd had stability because Tuberville had righted the ship. Of course, Tuberville was in trouble because he had issues beating Alabama early in his career. But he certainly, and it looked like Franchione had seized back control, but Franchione turned out to be mediocre, and turned and cut and left and went to that hellhole at A&M, and didn't win. And we all know what happened. I mean, he lost 77-0. It was one of the most glorious things that I've ever seen, just to follow that score and watch it continue to get worse and worse. And then Bob Stoops have to come to his press conference and be like, hey, we were trying to be decent. In the third quarter, we started running the ball up the middle. But again, Franchione, he ended up, I think it really hurt his career when he left Alabama, because of all the talking that he had done about sticking it out and getting Alabama through turbulent waters and things of that nature. And the fans were super excited about him. And if he had beaten Auburn in 2002 and not had his foot halfway out the door, he would have had tons of support going into, the rest of his tenure in Tuscaloosa and going into year 3. But it turns out as soon as he got there, he was looking to leave because it just wasn't built for it.
Right.
Some people are not built to coach at Alabama or Auburn. They're tough places to coach.
Right.
And basically, without a doubt, Franchione wasn't built for it, and neither was Brian Harsin. So they're a couple of your 2-year play. Now, Franchione won some games.
We're finding out if Hugh Freeze is built for it,
and we'll find out. I mean,
we're finding out because he's going to have to win.
He ran off the rails at Ole Miss.
Yeah,
but again, and that's the funny thing. I was telling you off the air after we played Colonel Reb is Crying. If you read Meat Market by Bruce Feldman, the first one, I've not read the follow-up. I need to read that one. But it takes you through the Orgeron tenure. And one of the first hires he made was Hugh Freeze as his, a recruiting coordinator. And of course, Hugh Freeze was also the head coach for Michael Orr, who was a 5-star recruit that Ed Orgeron wanted. And, And of course, the original plan for Hugh was he wanted Fatimus Maximus to hire him so he could bring Fatimus Maximus, Michael Orr. But luckily, the Toohey family hated Tennessee as much as I do.
Yeah, they were not fan. Well, they were all Ole Miss alums.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Got to get a break in. When we come back, we'll wrap it up with some more phone calls.
laughed that hard and woke up that many people in a long time.
What, Colonel Rev was
Colonel
crying?
Rev?
Hell yeah, I was dying. My wife rolled over. What the hell's wrong with you? It's too early for all that.
I didn't know if
you. Awake.
I didn't know.
I'd never heard it until this morning.
Yeah, Scott hadn't seen it.
I was told somebody wrote a song about him taking his shirt off, and I didn't know if it was like a Corey Smith thing. I had not heard it. I laughed so hard. I thought, my God.
Yeah, I remember it. I watched it several times. We didn't play the JoJo commercial for the Hummer.
No, we've played that one before. We have
played it before.
We just have not played the Colonel Reb just crying one until today. And that one was the first time. That one was good.
I think I played it when I was solo back several years ago, but not since Scott and I got together several years back. But I could tell when he started to listen, he hadn't heard it yet, because I was like, well, when you hear this, you're going to die laughing.
I laughed so hard. I haven't heard anything that funny in a while. And
heck, man, they were the guys that did it, that recorded, were laughing so hard it sounded like Scott and Talon Heating and Air.
Well, if they'd have said "Love Me Sexy," I'd have probably just ran through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh Lord,
that would have been the total end of that one. Well, I can't make it to the barbecue because we're down here,
right?
And man, we went on a dinner cruise last night.
Yeah, I saw that. That was some nice photos, man.
If you ever get a chance to do an all-you-can-eat dinner cruise on the Savannah River, go for it. I am telling you, man, they had prime ribs. They had pecan-crusted Parmesan pork loin.
He had me at prime. It's not like it's a date.
Scott's like cutting his eyes.
He had me at prime rib.
Yeah, this is funny.
Oh man, they had some candied, or not candied. It was onion soup, potatoes. They had Italian herbs and cheese rolls. They had a dimple top on them, and they put these little butter medallions in the top of it when they bring it out, and it just melts down the entire roll when they hand it to you.
Wow.
So good. I eat and I eat and I eat. And then I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to do this. If you're ever on a riverboat like that and you look up and you get passed by a freighter coming down the Savannah River that is moving, you will feel like a bug.
Oh, wow.
I thought we were done for. I looked up and that thing passed us, and we had two tug escorts coming in and out. I didn't think a boat that big should be able to even go through waters like that, much less go that fast.
Wow.
Scared the living crap out of everybody on the boat when that thing came by. But, no, that Coach O takes his shirt off. I'm going to need y'all to play that for Josh Tate and just figure out what his reaction to that is. Because I don't know if he's ever heard such, but it would be something for him to hear that. And also, if y'all get a chance, he is such a big Georgia guy, and it is obvious that he is a Georgia football guy. How did he end up in Nashville?
You talking about Pate?
Well, yeah, I mean, how was his show not in Atlanta?
Well, he was a local, like Scott, for many, many years.
Right.
He was a
Thanks for the phone call,
sports
Brandon.
anchor in Columbus, and decided he wanted to have control of his own show. And
Columbus,
he started,
Georgia.
Yeah, and once he left the TV world in that capacity. I think, he basically went to, I think it was kind of a, if you go back and look through it, it was a lot of timing. And then 24/7 was going more digital. And I think he pitched the show to them, and they had already seen him on the air and seen how good he was. And they gave him a chance to have his own show. And he didn't have complete control. He does now with CBS Sports, but he 24/7 gave him the vine, and he took it, man. And he's one of the most powerful guys in the media now.
All right, Matt Baker going to join us on the flip side. We're going to talk about this studio with us yesterday, the official medical providers for the Rocket City Trash Pandas and the UAH Chargers.
And then I found out that the 15-game losing streak is tied for the longest in the history of the Southern League, basically.
Is it really?
That's what I thought I saw yesterday.
So what was yesterday? Yesterday was Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to look.
That was going into the game yesterday.
Right. What was yesterday? Tuesday. I just asked that question.
Yesterday was Tuesday.
Okay. So I was trying to find out if they won or lost yesterday to whether or not it's now 16 games.
Yeah.
We'll have to find out. I'll have to see May, June. I can't find it right. Okay, here we go. June. It was June. Got to go into July now. We're in a new month.
Yeah.
And they lost yesterday.
16.
So now it's at 16 in a row.
3-1 they lost to the Smokies.
Okay. So, anyway, maybe they could use Nick Saban as a coach.
They could use a lot more than that, even though their parent club beat the hell out of the damn sorry-ass Braves.
Oh, that's a whole different story. That's a whole different story. Speaking of stories, if you peruse The Athletic, there's an interesting article in there. We've kind of touched on it a little bit this morning so far. It's how many college football teams could have won a national title with Nick Saban as their head coach.
Yeah, it's fascinating kind of because it's different, and it's our next guest. I was watching or checking out his X account. And like he said, sometimes, when you're a kid, what did you hate to do? You hated to eat vegetables, lima beans, stuff like that. You probably didn't because you're a food fanatic.
Green beans, yes. Lima beans, no.
Lima beans, man.
No. Butter beans, no. I'm not in on all that.
But sometimes you got to, give them vegetables because you're talking about revenue sharing and all this stuff people get tired of hearing about. But then you write an article like he did about Nick Saban and what if. And it really gets, it's like having a great dessert, and it gets your gears grinding.
It does,
and it was really a fascinating read. And Matt Baker is with us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, senior writer for The Athletic, and of course he was a longtime member of the Tampa Bay Times and covered college football there. But now he covers national college football for The Athletic, and he's going to talk about this story he penned on Nick Saban and the what if on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline.
It's a long one.
Matt, you're with Drew and Scott. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. It was, and I got to give you a lot of credit. That took a lot of work, and it was an outstanding long form article. Journalism has changed a lot, but I know The Athletic is still kind of old school, but I enjoyed the read, and it was fascinating to see the process you went through to kind of come up with that group of about 33 programs that you figured Nick Saban could have won it all.
Yeah, so that was just the question. We kind of answered a couple different ones. Is how many schools could Nick Saban have won a national title with? Then I was also curious, what's the worst program that he could have won a national title with? And when we kind of kicked around that idea, I started thinking about it. I think we can quantify this. I think we can find some numbers here to back it up, and I'll explain a little bit of it. There's some advanced metrics, FPI is an ESPN one, for example, that tell you how good a team is. They put a number on it beyond the wins and losses. So I looked at, what was Alabama like before Nick Saban got there? What was the number? And the number doesn't mean anything on its own. And then what was the number with Nick Saban at the peak? And then what's the difference, right? The difference is the Saban effect. He took them from X to Y, the difference between X and Y, that's the Saban effect. And then you can kind of apply that in different ways. If we took the Saban effect, we took this magic number and applied it to recruiting, applied it to how much more money a program gets, and what have you, how many schools would be able to be vaulted into that, would be able to break through the floor on what a team typically needs to win a national championship. Typically, national champions average a top 12 recruiting class kind of leading up to their title run. So, if Nick Saban is worth 1 star per recruit, which is what he improved Alabama by, how many schools would have been in that mix, right? So kind of do that over and over and crunch a bunch of numbers, and you come up with our list of 33 schools.
Wow. So let's start with some of those numbers, the Saban effect numbers. You've broke it down into recruiting. You broke it down into money. What were some of the ones that kind of surprised you the biggest, the biggest Saban effect numbers?
Yeah, the recruiting is certainly a big one. I mean, like I said, it was just about 1 star per recruit is what he improved Alabama by. So if before he got there, every say was a 3-star average at Alabama, he made him a 4-star average. That's pretty remarkable in and of itself. So that was certainly one that jumped out. NFL draft was another one. I mean, he basically gave Alabama 3.5 more draft picks per year. And if we were to break that down even further by the high end guys, I'm sure it's more than that. So those were a couple that jumped out. Money too. Like this is and I want to be clear on this too. What I did was a for fun exercise, right? It's hypothetical. It's for fun. It's silly. It's a June, July off-season story. Right. Don't take any of this to the bank.
Yes.
Okay. That said, I thought it was interesting that some of the numbers I found showed that Alabama's football revenue increased 38% from just before Saban got to Bama to just after. So that's one way to quantify the impact. And again, imperfect numbers, but that just shows you the level of impact that he had with that program. And that's just scratching the surface, honestly.
And then I thought it was interesting that you did during the articles talk about his time at Michigan State and quantify that with your data and the way you crunch the numbers, that you felt like if he had stayed at Michigan State, it would have still been possible for him to potentially maybe climb the ladder to the top of college football.
Yeah, Michigan State, depending on just your personal preference, your chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, whatever it is, what's the worst program Saban could have won a national title? That was one of the questions. And you could argue Michigan State, just in terms of they've been a good, not great program for most of the last 30 years, I'd say. Yeah. And you can view, obviously, they made the playoff and got crushed by Bama in the semifinal. But you can view Michigan State either way. So they're one of those ink blot tests, right? Because when Saban was there, he was 25, 22-1 in his first 4 seasons. And then he was 9-2 in the last one. So you can say that look, he was at Michigan State for 5 years. He couldn't get it done, couldn't really get close to national title. It wasn't going to happen. He and Michigan State weren't going to be the fit. Michigan State's off the list. You can also look at it and say, okay, it took a little bit of time for him to get things going at Michigan State. And by the end, they're a top 10 program. And maybe with another couple of years, he could have turned it around and gotten more. And then you also have to consider the fact that I'm sure he was not the same coach when he started Michigan State as when he started at Alabama and LSU, right? You change over time, you grow, you get better. So Michigan State was just one where you could view it either way. I tend to think that, yeah, certainly if you take him and put him at Michigan State in 2015, 2016, I think he probably could have broken through on that. That's just my personal feeling.
I like the worst programs. That one kind of got me. I was like, okay, it's because the 33 good programs, you look at them and you made a point that several of them on there had already won a national have already won one. But then you look at some of the worst teams and it's like, okay, you've got the Arizona States, the Louisvilles, the North Carolinas, the South Carolinas. I mean, there's some interesting, intriguing teams on that worst side.
Yeah, South Carolina, I would have put at the bottom of the best of the worst of the best, I guess is what I would say. Just because, they've had flashes of success, certainly with Spurrier.
Right.
Last year, we'll see what they do going forward. Last year was a success overall. But could Saban in his prime have lifted South Carolina at a higher level than Spurrier did when Spurrier was on the back part of his career? Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Louisville is a fascinating one. I think of them as a better program than I probably should, if that makes sense. If you because they've had they've had some peaks over the years. And Scott Dochterman, one of my coworkers at the Athletic, he kind of mentioned, all right, if we were to take Lamar Jackson and pair him with a Nick Saban defense, That's a national championship, and I don't know. I can't argue that.
Right.
Stanford is an intriguing one, where Stanford historically has not been great. However, with Harbaugh and David Shaw, they got up to a high level, and it's not crazy to think they could have done it. Then, as you mentioned, Arizona State and North Carolina, those are more like sleeping giants that maybe they'll wake up, maybe they won't. Utah, Wisconsin have always been solid. Could Saban have accumulated enough talent to take them from like a top, in the 12 to 25 range to top 4? Maybe, maybe not. It's a really interesting question with absolutely no wrong answers, but I would much rather talk and write about that than write about the house case some more.
Well, and I will say, Matt,
I don't blame you.
The first school that went through my head, and Scott and I kind of talked about them to lead off the show, because they're the state school. They have an outstanding fan base that's always supported the program, even through thick and thin, even when they went 0-12 under Lou Holtz, was South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina is a very good one. There's plenty of talent in the area. That wasn't an issue. That wasn't something that I looked at just because it's harder to quantify. But as we're having this discussion, South Carolina's got enough talent in the area, in the state, and then going to North Carolina and Georgia as well. Yes, they do have a very proud fan base that cares a lot, and that matters. It helps lead to money. Financially, they'd be good enough. Again, I think they've had enough flashes over the years where you could see a scenario where there's plenty of schools where like the stars align and you get Cam Newton at quarterback and you can break through. That wasn't what this was. This was more of a slower build where you could realistically see it more than just a flash in the pan. And I think South Carolina has enough where you could make that argument fairly easily, and certainly compared to some of the other ones.
Matt Baker joining us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Kind of just, it is fun, Matt, and you're right. It is the summertime, and this type of article just really, it fits perfectly in there. I'm trying to wrap my head around you saying Lamar Jackson and a Nick Saban defense of just how good that possibility.
And we've had Scott Docterman on a few times.
Yes, we've had him on a couple times as well. That's just an interesting, that's just one right there to get your mind really thinking.
Well, now you can have a second article and ask Scott, could Nick Saban have won it at Iowa?
I don't, Iowa was one. I had them, I voted for them. They were on the list. I don't recall off the top of my head who voted for Iowa.
Probably nobody.
No, okay. So
Scott's in Iowa, not an alum, but he grew up there.
It looks like 10 people did.
And he went to Northern Iowa.
I just looked it up.
There you go.
Yeah, 10 of the 17 staffers at The Athletic who helped us with the poll said Iowa. Saban could have won a title at Iowa. I was 1 of the 10, by the way. I don't think that's crazy.
Well, and Hayden Fry, let's be honest. He had, a break here or there. He could have done it, especially back in the 80s. So, and Iowa does have a passionate fan base, and it's another state school. I'll be honest with you. Another school that would be fascinating to me that I think he could revive quickly. I think his coaching days are behind him. But they're ever since they stupidly fired Frank Solich, Nebraska has been kind of wandering through the wilderness. But I think even without the option game and playing the way they did for so long under Bob Devaney and certainly the great Tom Osborne, Nick Saban could win big at Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska's a really interesting one as well, because there are definitely some parallels between Nebraska now and the Alabama program
that's a good
Saban
point.
Inherited, right? Like they're both distressed assets. Both tradition-wise are fantastic. Both have, big stadiums, plenty of money, proud fan base, and what have you. Where Nebraska is different. Again, this isn't something that my story at The Athletic broke down, but we can talk about it here. Nebraska's in a tougher situation just because of proximity to talent.
Yeah,
There's not
that's a good point.
There's not a lot of dudes in Nebraska, right? Or in the surrounding states. And you compare that to Alabama, where Alabama produces plenty of high-end talent. You got Mississippi over there, which punches above its weight. You got Louisiana close. You got, your border Florida. You have plenty of nearby, and Georgia's there too. You got plenty of nearby talent that you can pull from. It's a lot harder in Nebraska. But then again, when Nebraska was really good, they pulled a lot of that. You know, Tommy Frazier is one of the best players. I'd say Tommy Frazier is the best player of my lifetime. And he went to Nebraska from Bradenton, Florida, just across the bay from me. So
that's right.
It happened, and it's a little bit easier now, but it's still not. Nebraska is a tougher situation than Alabama.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And then finally, I hate to to talk about things that people hate to speak on, but we've got you here. So, what is your thoughts now that revenue sharing is happening with July the 1st? It went into effect. Do you think this is going to stabilize college football? What are your thoughts on where the sport is right now?
Do I think it's going to stabilize college football? Absolutely not.
Gotcha.
I just don't. I believe me, I've talked to administrators who think that the settlement, the House settlement,
right,
and the soft salary cap, whatever, unofficial salary cap, whatever you want to call it, will do enough to level the playing field. And I'm just not buying it, guys. College football, college sports, they have been cheating as long as college sports has existed.
True.
If there are rules, people will find a way around them. That's going to happen. Maybe this is different and the rules are going to be enforced so strictly that people won't cheat. They won't try to circumvent the cap. Maybe, but I'm going to have to wait until I see that in order to believe it. And then the other aspect of it, too, is because so much of this money is we're not paying the players to be players. We're paying them for other things.
Right.
That just opens the door for so many different ways to circumvent it. And there are going to be schools that have some sort of inherent advantage based on where they are, the number of big corporations in the area, the passion of a fan base, whatever it is. I don't have any idea yet. But there's going to be some schools with built-in advantages that are going to be able to maximize this in a way that somebody else cannot. Maybe Alabama is really well positioned in a way that Florida State can't be, just because of something that has nothing to do with Kalen DeBoer and Mike Norvell, right? So there's going to be winners and losers from this, just like there's been winners and losers with every change that's ever happened in college sports, just as there's been cheating in every way, shape, or form in college sports. So I don't think it's going to stabilize it. I think it's going to lead to an interesting couple of years as schools figure out figure out the efficiencies and inefficiencies and move accordingly. But this will be fine for a couple of years, and then the cracks will show, and eventually we'll move to a system where players are treated as employees.
I was going to say collective bargaining, right?
Collective bargaining, right? Where we stop pretending that players are getting paid for their NIL when they're getting paid because they're really good football players that will help my team, whatever that is, win more games.
Well, they still got to figure out this college football playoff stuff. So, I mean, there's no shortage of things to try to figure out in college football right now.
I figured one thing out, though, as one of our listeners said, how many national championships could Ed Ogeron win somewhere else? Not any. Good God.
That's a really good question too. That's one of those where the stars absolutely aligned, like with Chiswick at Auburn, right?
Yep. Yeah, we said the same thing. That's probably the two most unlikely coaches to win a national championship.
And
we saw what Chiswick did at Iowa State.
Yeah. One season,
Scott's favorite school.
Yeah, one season wonders.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, the bonus checks I'm sure still cashed, and the rings are still shiny though.
They are. Well, Matt, thank
you, man.
Yes.
We enjoyed the article and your work.
Absolutely, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Matt Baker, kind enough to join us this morning.
Fascinating.
It's good. That's good stuff.
I mean, because I'll never forget when Chisholm was hired, and you saw his results at Iowa State, and but he goes ahead and wins a national championship. But then we saw how quickly 2 years later it fell apart. But man, to have the Chiswick and Ogeron flashes of lightning happen just goes to show you if everything lines up,
right,
that it can still happen.
Well, and what do both of them have in common? They
Money,
had they hit lightning in a bottle with their quarterbacks.
They did, and they've and they're when you look at the top maybe 15 programs of all time, they're both among those.
Right.
So
right.
Just goes to show you even if you don't have the perfect fit at head coach, if you have players, you can win.
Right. All right. We've got to get a break in when we come back. Phone lines are open to you, 256-576-4977.
By the way, did you know Joe Burrow played at Ohio State? Because Urban, I don't know.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7.
Thing that we want at Ole Miss. I have my Hummer. You need a Hummer. Tell them about it, JoJo.
Mississippi, they are here. The new Rogers Dabbs H3 Hummers are here.
The folks at Rogers Dabbs Hummer are first-team players. Come see them.
Rogers Dabbs and Hummer like nothing else. New H3 starting at just $32,000.
Love it.
Oh, my goodness. I tell you what, though. He has not coached in a few years.
No, he hasn't.
But he is still. He did row back. You know, he got Roback on the map. He helped get Roback, a clothing apparel company, off the ground by being their ambassador or spokesman. He did the Hummer ads. He is still very polarizing as an individual.
Oh, of course. Why do you think people still want him to do commercials and things of that nature?
Yes, he is still very, very polarizing.
If he takes his shirt off at a wedding, why does it go viral?
You're 100% right, though. Do you think he'll ever? I mean, he's got like 52 million reasons not to be on coaching.
Yeah.
Do you think we talked about Mike Shula ever getting back as a head coach? Now, Mike Shula is still a coordinator, and if he has a good year at South Carolina, we feel he could. Will Ed ever coach again on the highest level?
I mean, not as a head coach, but maybe he could be a defensive line coach. He was a great one.
Or is he just retired, do you think?
I mean, he got 17. Like you said, they can pay me my 17 million and I'll go away. So he got all that money. So
all right. So. Well, what has been a theme of this show the last few days? Number one, we've just said screw commercials.
Right.
We've just said forget it. We just take over long ass segments. We become the drive.
Yeah.
We've just taken over long segments and we've just said screw it.
Yeah.
And number two, we've just had a cavalcade of guests come in studio.
Right.
And so
which is a little different for us.
It is, but we've kept the center microphone here on purpose because we had Dr. Thomas Ricks in yesterday. We had Cheney in on Thursday of last week, the last show that we did in studio for the week. Today is the last show we do in studio because tomorrow we will be at our barbecue that we are throwing for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we will not be here till Monday. So the last show of the week.
We're not going to be here Monday. You're just giving that away.
I said we're going to be off on Monday.
Right.
So we're not going to be here.
Oh.
So what better way to wrap up the week than bring another guest into the studio?
The point guard for the best team in the history of the state of Alabama in college basketball.
That's right.
Also grew up here.
Coming up after the break.
That's a good tease.
Denver Jones.
Yeah. Should we play John Denver when he comes in?
No.
I don't know.
He probably doesn't even know who John Denver is.
Probably not.
He's going to be sitting right here in the middle with us. Denver Jones next.
Tree Grill, legendary fun, legendary food.
Hello, listeners. I want to tell you a little bit about Minuteman Press and what we have to offer our community. We specialize in paper printing and can help from designing your piece to the finished product. We print media guides for many of the athletic departments at high schools and universities around the area. We typically purchase sponsorships from these schools as well to try and help them with their fundraising. Once we have reached our new normal, we also print all types of marketing materials for you to hand out either in person, via mail, or at various trade shows and events. At Minuteman Press, we're not just putting ink on paper, we're building relationships.
The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Only on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Because
welcome back. And you can we're just going to do this live. You can wear one of those.
Yeah,
there you go.
can.
Now you should be able to hear us.
Yeah, there we go. So. I hope Baghdad's working. Please work.
Yeah,
let's not have a Nick Saban disaster.
Everything in this show, on our show, we usually give a nickname to.
Yeah.
So if you hear us refer to things, it's strange. We are graced by another great guest in studio with us this morning. And it's been a common theme the last 3 days.
That's why we're the kings of basketball in Alabama.
Now, I will say this. When Chaney was here, Chaney had a hard time sitting in the chair.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's 6.
Because
he said he's 6'7". I still think he's 6'8" or 9.
Yeah,
I think he got taller.
I think he did too. He did. It was not very comfortable for him.
6'7.5".
But for our next guest, he's making it feel nice and easy here inside the studio.
He was PG1 of the best team in the history of the state of Alabama.
Yes.
They went to the Final Four. They won the SEC regular season championship. They came close to winning the first national title in our state's history on the Division I level. And, of course, we're talking about Denver Jones, former Buckhorn Buck. And he had such an interesting odyssey to get to Auburn and then so much success. And this has been my first time being able to meet him. I know, same with you, Scott.
Yes.
And it was an honor to follow his career. But, Denver, man, we appreciate you taking the time. And, first of all, congratulations on you and Chaney going to get a chance to play Summer League with Cleveland. Now, I know they have Summer League in 2 different spots at least. Where will you guys' Summer League be taking place?
I think we're only going to be in Vegas.
Y'all going to be in Vegas?
Ooh,
okay.
There we go.
Well, because I know sometimes it's been in Utah some too, so that's why I wanted to ask. I was hoping it was Vegas, but that's really cool, man. Talk about signing with Cleveland, and because Chaney took us through his, and we'll let you take us through yours as well. He had 6 workouts. He told us, he was honest with us. He said his 2 best ones were Cleveland because they called him back. So he was even hopeful to get drafted the other night, maybe in the second round. We were hoping both of you guys would. We hated that it didn't happen, but still, you're getting an opportunity. But talk about this opportunity coming up with you and Chaney in Cleveland.
Man, it was just a blessing. I had my fair share of workouts. I think I went to 6 workouts.
6 as well?
I feel like my best workouts are probably Charlotte, Orlando. I feel like those are probably my best 2.
Did you work out with Cleveland as well?
I did. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah. Wow, so you did not. Wow.
So I didn't.
Wow.
So just hearing the news the next day after the draft, it was during my workout actually.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, I'm just
how does that work though? How does that?
We were just we know about all you guys.
We know about the draft and then the phone calls and all that stuff, but kind of take people through that next day. If you don't, you don't hear your name on the draft. Does the phone ring? Is it the team calling and saying, "Hey, we would love for you to come here to do this"? How does that kind of unfold?
Man, most of the time it really depends. Most people, they find out where they're going to be as far as what contract they're going to sign before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Right before.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes they find out right after. You never know. It could be before or after. But mine was after, and then Cleveland, they called my agent, and my agent had called my trainer during the workout, and then he had told me the news. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that was the best news I heard. So I was just blessed to have the opportunity to go play with them, and especially be with my teammate too at the same time.
Makes that workout go a little easier, doesn't it?
It's a fact. It's a
fact. Well, back it up. Let's back it up then, because in order for you to be looked at, to be considered for the next level, things had to go well for you this past season, the season before that. Take us through this Final Four run. Take us through this past season that got you to this point to even be considered to make it to the next level?
Man, first, I'm just gonna start off like with just the conversations that me and Bruce had just in the beginning of the season, really just during the summer, honestly. And he told me that he wanted me to make the transition from playing off ball to being our primary on ball.
Right.
And I was like, okay, like I took on the challenge.
Yeah.
Because my first year at college, when I was in junior college, my first year I played point guard. So it was actually like, it actually felt good, like transitioning back. Obviously, like it was a work in progress. Like I showed the practice every day, just really just trying to work as hard as I can just to be the best point guard that, you know what I'm saying, I could be. And then I want also to be one of the best two-way players. So I feel like that alone has helped change my game a lot and made me more appealing to the NBA scouts and these NBA teams, because I feel like as a two guard, I'm for sure undersized.
Yeah.
I'm about to say right now, two guards are 6'6" and up.
Right.
Yeah. So
see, when I played back in the 90s, 6'6", that was a post player.
No doubt.
I mean, if you were 6'6", you were in the post.
Man, that's crazy. Like even now, like point guards now are pretty tall. Like
even 6'4", 6'5", they want length and everything. But I thought it was interesting with your and the way everything worked out for you at Auburn. They brought in J.P. Pegues from Furman. Everybody thought he was going to be the point guard, but then it didn't work out. But it's funny how, God kind of takes the wheel here and things all work out for the best anyway, because I know when you're in your first year at Auburn, you played both. You started playing off the ball, then you started playing on it some by the end of the year. And then I guess that's what gave Bruce the confidence. Okay, you're a better player. We're getting our best five dudes on the floor, and you're more than capable of playing the point. And as he said, I know I was in Tuscaloosa when you guys, won the 1-2 game, the historical matchup for this state, and controlled that game from start to finish. And one of Bruce Pearl's first things he said when he sat down in front of us was he was campaigning for you to be the defensive player of the year in the SEC, talking about you were the best on-ball defender in the country, and you certainly did a great job against Sears and Alabama's guards in those times. So, I mean, man, but it's awesome the way you were able to. I think you were the missing piece because everybody knew how good Jonai was, and he was getting better every year. Chaney had done a good job, but there was uncertainty at the point guard position, and you proved early on that you could handle that job from the jump. And that's why this Auburn team was so special, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you when you hear, and Coach Pearl, beginning of the year said, hey, you are probably our best on-ball defender.
You just talked about taking pride in being a two-way player.
Yeah. So that was one of the main reasons why I came to Auburn, just because like I wanted to change my game a little bit. Like everyone knew that I could score, but I feel like my defense was being overlooked a lot. So coming here, I knew that it was going to challenge my defense ability, and I knew I could get better. Yeah. So my main focus was becoming the best two-way player in the country, and that's just the mindset that I carried every day in practice.
And talk for us. Take us through. You were here at Buckhorn 2 years, right? And I mean, you were just starting to, I think, ascend and become a prospect. What went into the decision for you to leave? And now we see kids that do that now. We've talked about Caleb Holt, and he's going to finish it at Prolific Prep. He went to Grayson last year in Georgia, but this was before NIL. What made you decide to take that jump and go to prep school and then go on your journey?
Man, honestly, just competition level. Like honestly, like we had good competition here in Huntsville, but as far as just what I feel like I needed to get better, like just the conversations that I had with just my dad and me and him, we always talk about basketball, and he just felt like just playing right here in Huntsville all 4 years of high school, like he said I could probably get much better playing against better competition, like night in, night out. So that was the whole mindset of me going to Memphis and go play prep school, just because we played a national schedule, playing against players across the country, and we was on a platform called the Grind Session. And if y'all know nothing about the Grind Session is like where the top prep school teams that they go. It's almost like a league, and they play in, and they have like these sessions, and they, so we play against each other. And I feel like that journey right there alone just helped shape my game into the player I am today.
And then you end up JUCO, and then you find your way to FIU.
Yes, sir.
And then you find your way to Auburn. What was that decision going from FIU to Auburn like, and how much? I mean, obviously it was not an easy decision. But it had to feel good, though, to come back to the home state to find a way to play basketball.
I mean, because at first, like I already was building a legacy at FIU, so like I really didn't even want to leave, like, to be honest. But at the same time, I had goals in mind that I wanted to fulfill, and one of those goals was to actually be able to play for a national championship. And I feel like the conversations that I had with BP, and I knew the type of team that he was trying to have, and the type of environment that he was building, and the type of culture that he was building. Like, I knew that was something that I wanted to be a part of, and I knew with the players we have coming in, like even this year when I knew about, like, we had Miles come in, we had all the new additions come in, like I knew it was going to be a top team in the country.
Yeah, but I will say this too, and this is where it kind of made me wonder, because with this rule that they basically put in place this past year. Now, Chaney even said he thought about coming back for another year, but he hadn't played on the junior college level. Did you have that option? Because I was wondering, since you actually played junior college basketball, that they might give you another season because of this crazy 1 year kind of gap rule that they've passed. Was that something that was on the table for you? Did you explore it? Chaney told us he thought about it. And then, he said the percentages for him were very low, so he decided to go pro. What was your thought process, and did you have a chance to potentially get another season?
So my mindset was kind of similar to Chaney. Like I thought about it, but honestly, like my chances, like he said, like were very low.
Right.
So I was just like, okay, like, I'm just gonna go pro. But apparently, if you had to be in junior college level when NIL has started.
Okay.
So my first year at JUCO was literally the year before NIL.
Okay. Oh man!
Yeah. So here we go. This gray area red tape stuff.
Yeah, 1 year on everything.
Right,
yeah.
Man.
So you've mentioned Bruce Pearl a couple times, and obviously a big factor in getting you to Auburn, a big factor in helping you elevate your game. Take us inside what it's like to be around Bruce a lot. We see the media side, we see the press conference side, we see the in-game side of Bruce that is, very active, very active as a coach. We see that. What do we not know about Bruce Pearl?
Man, just how much of a family man he is. Like, very spiritual, very caring. I feel like he's very understanding, especially about like of his players, of certain situations. Like I feel like some people can play for BP but can't play for anybody else.
Right.
And I feel like that's just because the type of person that BP is, and the type that, like, he believes in his players, especially like if somebody's known for like just have a bad stigma around like college coaches about like either attitudes or whatever it may be. Like BP actually does a great job as far as like handling that, like just managing things. Like, I feel like that's what kind of separates him as a coach, because like he gives players a chance that other coaches kind of just passed up on.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the mindset that we all kind of carried over, just because most of the people on our team was being overlooked. And like most of our team was transfers. Like, we only had two players that came in and started at the high major division level, and that was Jakai and Tahad.
Yeah.
Like, everybody, and Dylan and Simo.
Yeah.
Besides those, but like everybody else was transfers and had something to prove. So I feel like he just always believed in players that wanted to make that extra step, and that
I always thought
constantly overlooked.
I always thought Bruce had a little zen to him too, because I'm going to bring up your former teammate. There's not a lot of coaches that could connect and had the relationship and the get back and forth with Chad Baker Mazzara that he had. I mean, we're not trying to tell you to rat on Chad and give us some stories, but man, I mean, the dude was different. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like a Dennis Rodman, in my opinion. You had to figure out how to reach the guy at times, and I thought Bruce was one of the few guys that could do that.
And they had the best relationship. Like,
yeah, it just seemed like,
I feel like they just connected on a different level. So, and it's like you could sense that.
Yeah.
All right, take us through this Final Four run. Man. I mean, we had Chaney in here, and we were like, look, and he told us, the trip to Maui was where it really kind of came together. We knew that you guys had a lot of talent on this team, but I mean, look, to ascend to number one in the polls. I mean, I don't know how many people thought number one was there, that fast and that good. Take us through that Maui run. Take us through the season. I mean, wow, remarkable season.
Man, first I just want to say it was just a blessing, just to be out there with my brothers. It was a very spiritual team, man. It was something that I'll just never forget for the rest of my life. And just that Maui run, I feel like the first game we played was Iowa State. And to be honest, like to us, that was the hardest game we played the whole year. Just because
really?
Wow. For one, like you playing against a really good Iowa State team.
Okay.
They were healthy too at the time, like beginning of the season.
That's a good point.
So offensively, they were making shots, like, and we pride ourselves on defense, but we playing good defense and they just still making it. And they're a good defensive team also.
Right.
So they're making a lot of defensive plays, getting steals. So now we just like looking at each other like, bro, like something gotta give, bro. Like we down 18 at halftime.
Right.
So we just in the locker room, like we just trying to lock in, just trying to figure something out. And sure enough, like BP come in, he was like, bro, we just gotta get back to playing Auburn basketball. And then we all just looked around at each other, you know what I'm saying? It's like everybody almost gave each other that look, like, okay, like let's lock in. Like this first half we got out of hand, like let's go back second half, let's start back playing basketball like we normally do.
And you're in a small gym.
Yeah, we
probably like a high school locker room as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a small place.
Chaney was telling us how small it was.
Bro, I don't even think it was really a locker room. For real. It was really like a bathroom. I had like a couple benches where you could sit down. That's really what it was. But that experience was crazy. Like we went out there, like it's literally split. Iowa State fans, Auburn fans.
Right.
Like if you could see the picture, it just looked crazy. But we went out there, you know what I'm saying, just play hard, you know what I'm saying, just play Auburn basketball, and we ended up coming back with the dub. And after that game,
right,
that's when we realized like really how good we could be. And then once we won Maui,
easily the top three teams in college basketball this year. At one time, Auburn was the best team in the country, probably right after Maui. But then Duke, and you guys had a chance to go head up with them, and that was a high-level game in Cameron. And then the two games with Florida, that was the three best teams in the country, in my opinion. I thought it was those three and everybody else. I mean, no disrespect to Houston. They almost won it all.
Yeah. Right.
I thought we were going to see a rematch. I thought we were going to – I picked Florida, but I would not have been shocked at all to see Auburn and Duke play again and you guys get a rematch. Because I know Jonah, I remember that game kind of stuck in y'all's craw. You thought it got away late that you guys could have won that game.
Yeah, like we was playing Duke, like bro just came out. Like it's an X factor, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and we had a good start on them, but I forgot his name. I think it was Isaiah Evans.
Yeah. The kid hit 6 threes. Like that's what Chaney was saying. He goes, he's not even on a scouting report, pretty much. The
look we just got there.
Yeah.
Bro, like literally, like he was on there, he was like, bro, he's capable, like he's really capable.
Yes.
But like that was the scouting report, and then sure enough, he gets high at 6 straight. Like I don't think he missed until late in the game.
Right. That's so crazy. But
go back to Maui real fast too, but also the Duke game as well. Mm-hmm. You guys knew it because you practiced against him every single day. You saw John Broome every single day. Mm-hmm. But the rest of college basketball really got introduced to him coming into Maui and then into Duke.
Man, I got introduced to Janai early. I'm gonna say like on my visit actually. So we was playing, I want to say 4-on-4, and just seeing how he played, you know what I'm saying? He plays at his own speed. You would not be able to speed Janai up, especially if he get the ball in the post. You would not speed him up. And he's great at using his body.
Right.
Like, he don't have to be like really too athletic the way he plays. Like he backs down. He's smart. He's smart with his movements. He's able to block you from not being able to contest his shot. And he has a free shot at the rim. So like it's really crazy. And then his touch, like he has great touch around the rim. So that's one thing like I really noticed earlier about Janai. And then one thing that he really worked on like was his outside shooting.
Yes, he did.
That was like a big thing as far as like the first year transitioning to our second year was really that. And I feel like he showcased that on our second year as far as being capable of knocking down 3 threes in the game, 4 threes in the game, because he's done that multiple occasions, and then just
the big one in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, against Michigan State.
When he came back out like Willis Reed.
The Superman entrance.
Yeah, there you go. We got Superman coming back out July 11th. That's a great way to describe it.
What was going through your guys' mind, or your mind, I should say, when you saw that?
Man, when I seen him get hurt, like I was just praying. Like it was just instant prayer. Like I started praying for Janai right then and there, because like I know like how hard he's worked, and I know how hard we worked to like we get to this point. And I just know like just being a basketball player and just being human, bro. Like if I was him in that same situation, bro, like I know how I would feel. So I was instantly praying. And then I seen him walk out the locker room like, oh man. I think it was a foul, Reed. And I like I just hear everybody like, oh, like I look over it, I see Janai just walk out. I'm like, no way, he about to sub in the game. Bro, he had the towel, threw the towel down, just subbed into the game. I'm like, wow. First play comes in, 3 ball. I'm like, oh yeah, he different.
Exactly.
That was different.
Well, we got to also talk about this opportunity for you and Chaney with Cleveland. Tell us what's next, when you guys are going to report, and talk about what you've heard from their organization. What are they telling you guys? And it's a chance for you to impress them and others, because there's going to be every team in the NBA down there watching. And the goal, I know, is to be invited to training camp and have a chance to make a roster, get a 2-way contract. We just kind of talk about it.
So as far as I know Chaney, he's worked out with them a couple of times. So he's already signed with them. So right now I'm just on the Summer League invite.
Invite, gotcha. Okay.
They invited me to play Summer League with them. They say it's just an opportunity. Like they'll take a look at me.
And then everybody can, yeah.
And then they just said like, when I get in the game, just go out there and just play my game and rock out. And then just attract some teams, basically. So it's basically just my tryout, and I'm not really signed to them, but I'm just blessed to be on the Summer League team.
And getting an opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was just going to say, it's got to be what you and your dad talked about when you decided to make the jump to prep school and go to Memphis. But this was the end game. You wanted to eventually get an opportunity, and now you're not under contract with anybody, but you got a chance to control what you can control, which is impress people. Then,
yes, sir, that's the main goal, and I'm just blessed to really just be in this, just to have this opportunity for real. It's just something I always like kind of dreamed of, and now I'm here on Cleveland with my teammates, so I just feel like I can't get no better than that.
When do you go? When does it all start?
Honestly, I'll leave later on today, actually.
Really?
Dang, we got it
just in time.
Just in time.
Just in time.
See, that's what I was worried about.
It's a good thing we did a show this week. We thought about not even doing one today.
Yeah.
For real?
So yes.
We were going to just do our cookout tomorrow, man.
Look, we just decide here when we want to work. So we've just decided we didn't want to work on Monday. So we're not working on
shout
Monday.
out to Portal Scoop, my guy. I've talked to him several times. He hooked us up with you. So and he now, because I kept hitting refresh. I kept saying, because Stephen Scott was like, "Where's Denver going?" I was like, "I'm trying to find out." And then he DM'd me. He's like, "Hey, Denver Jones is going to Cleveland." And I was like, "Awesome. Thank you for telling me that." And he's like, "You guys got to get him on the show." I was like, "Well, we were talking to Chaney about it."
Well, Chaney said it. He was like, "Man, you got to get Denver on. He'd be good. He'd be good. He'd be good."
I'm like, "Yeah." And then I told my guy Portland, I said, "Hey man, if you can get his number, I'd really appreciate that." And we just appreciate you for giving us some time, because we know it's a whirlwind right now.
Yeah. So what do you? I mean, obviously, this is like a for a lot of people, this is a resume tape. I mean, this is your resume going out there for Summer League. How do you handle that? How do you? I mean, it's a little bit of pressure for you.
I mean, yeah, it is, but honestly, just trying to go out there and just play my game, play with a ton of confidence. I feel like that's really the main thing, is just going out there, just playing with confidence.
Yeah.
And obviously you're going to be on the court with different players, but sure enough, like, that's your tryout. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, is your resume.
Right.
So just go out there and just showcase what you really can do.
We asked Chaney this too, and his answer was no, and then he got sick. Did you get to surf it all in Maui, and what was San Antonio like?
So I didn't surf in Maui, but you know what I'm saying? When we did go to the beach, it was nice though.
Okay.
Like, we got a canoe and stuff. It was pretty fun. And then San Antonio, that was just a different experience. Like, Like honestly, like just getting on the bus and just seeing the amount of fan support that we had.
Right.
Like I even looked up a couple of times, like on the garage, because it was kind of right next to like a garage. So I looked up, there's people on top of the garage, like just looking down, just showing support, yelling. I'm like, bro, I took a video, bro. Like it was insane.
It was awesome.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much for coming in.
For the time, brother.
30 minutes. We did that. That was 30. It went by fast.
It did.
Time flies when you're having fun. You're about to go play in the NBA.
Join us tomorrow morning for our barbecue, 7 a.m. to 9.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And